Like to call the February 6th, 2025 work session of the Keystone Central School District Board of Directors to order. We're going to start the meeting with the flag salute and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Dr. Baldino?
Here.
Mr. Cannon? Ms. Donahue? Mr. Elling?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Knopf?
Here.
Ms. Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Ms. Smith? Here. 7 members present.
Okay. Before we move forward, I'd just like to let everybody know that prior to the meeting, from 5:30 to 6:40, we held an executive session dealing with legal issues and personnel issues. Okay, let's move on to the presentation portion. All right, preliminary budget. Johnny?
Okay. Thanks, Colton. So before I actually start with 25-26 budget, I'd like to go ahead and talk about the budget season that we're in right now for 24-25. I want to make sure that the board fully understands. Sorry about that. I want to make sure the board fully understands how the budget process works, even just pertaining to this year. The budget was passed in June of 2024 for the 24-25 school year. So when the administration produces a list of bills, the bills for payment on every board agenda, that is telling you, when the board approves the budget, you approve the amount for the revenues and the expenses. When the bills for payment are listed on the agenda, we're now telling you how we're spending the budget money. So you've already actually approved the budget, but now we're just showing you how we're spending the budget. So I don't want there to be questions about, or if there is a question about approving expenses after the fact or approving revenues after the fact, you're really not. You've already approved that in your budget process. So I just want to make sure, I know it was a question that came up, and I just want to make sure that kind of everyone's clear with the process. So going forward now, we're going to talk about 25-26 budget. So on the next page is the timeline for developing a balanced budget. We are actually still in we did accept the resolution to not exceed the Act 1 index. The next scheduled date will be March 13th, when you'll preview the general fund development. But again, we do that in February, March. We do it pretty much every board meeting. So the next slide will show you where we started the school year at 7/1 of 24. We ended up with a fund balance of $20,980,436. Now, part of that was in the 23-24. We had a surplus of that $1.3 million we've discussed as far as at the end of the budget. And there is a proposal, a resolution for this in this board agenda to commit that to Fund 32 for capital projects that we discussed at the last board meeting and at the Finance Committee meeting as well. So, and then also the Fund 32, the capital fund balance has $957,146, again, starting on July 1st. The next slide will show you where we ended again at 23-24. You'll see the 19,665,000. That actually has that 1.3 taken out because we had discussed, and again, if the board approves that resolution this evening or the next meeting, that will be the actual balance. Predicted for 24-25, you can see that there's the balance of 16,237,000. We did discuss at the finance meeting to also commit $500,000 to the proposed ERP, the ERP system, which is the accounting enterprise resource planning system that we are going to have take effect on July 1st. We also discussed in the finance meeting, and we will again in March, is to possibly commit other funds towards capital projects that we deem necessary. The idea of committing funds is so that you're setting it aside. You're saying this is an important project. We're going to set these aside and we're going to commit to completing those projects. So again, we'll discuss those again in the February finance and facilities meetings. The 25-26 budget, and this was just a hypothetical, if we would have to use any kind of general fund balance for the 25-26 school year, hypothetically, you can see that it would drop, you would drop that unassigned fund balance. And I hypothetically used $3.5 million. Again, this is all preliminary. I just wanted to show you what that may look like. The next slide shows you, again, we do this every year. This is our 5-year financial picture. This is if there is no tax increase this year. The numbers I want to point out are the 15% benefit increase. At the last finance meeting, we had our benefits, Benecon, PSHIC representatives come in and do a presentation. We are on trend again this year to have an increase of 15%. Right now, this year, we're sitting at 10%, 11%. Next year, we're trending again at 15%. So that is what I have added in the budget. The other number I want to point out is the PSERS rate for 25-26 at 34%. That actually dropped a little bit. So we did see about a $250,000 savings from what I budgeted. And when I say savings, I meant it's what I budgeted, but now I don't have to budget as much. So I just want to point that out. So you see then at the finance meeting, we were actually at 6.6. So we have done some work between the departments. We started, going down each line item and started pulling back on some of the expenses that we can trim down. So we're sitting at 5.6 at the moment. The next slide will show you if we were to propose a 1.78 millage increase. That yields about $490,000. So then you'll see the number drop from 5.6 to 5.1. The next slide shows you if we were to approve a millage of 3.55. Again, you'll notice that each increment raises about an additional $500,000. So you'll see $980,000 increase there. So that drops the deficit down to 4.6. And again, your last slide will show you if there was a 5.34% millage increase, you'll yield about 1.4 million in additional tax revenue and drop that deficit down to 4.1. Now, the next slide is actually, I believe, the most important slide because, again, this is a preliminary budget. We still have some work to do, but this shows you what we still have to work through and what we're up against. So the expenditures, we are working through with the department heads. We're still working through some of those budgets. And also through attrition and the repurpose of staff. We're still working through those through February. The healthcare rates we did discuss. Again, we're trending at 15%. I don't feel as if that can be moved until if by chance we happen to have a better rate, but I don't feel comfortable moving that. The next point is the increase of bond principal and interest. So through the board approval of 2 Liberty Current bonds, we have moved our bond principal and interest about $400,000. So in 23-24, we are at 1.8 million. In 24-25, we're at 2.25 million. And at 25-26, we're at about 2.7 million in bond interest and principal. The good news is we will level out now. So the remaining years will be about 2.6 million. You won't see any of those big increases. We'll level out now after 25-26. The next point is something I really want to discuss a little bit, which is your charter, or which is your cyber school. Did a little research because between 22 and 23 and 23 and 24, we had an increase of $1.5 million in cyber tuition. So I dug into those numbers a little bit. Actually, Teresa Carlson did, and found that it's twofold. It's the tuition rate that increased, but it's also the enrollment. So just to give you two examples, one of the larger ones is Commonwealth Charter. In 22-23, we had about 62 regular students. In 23-24, that jumped to 107. In special ed, they had 15. And then in 23-24, it jumped to 36. So you can see it's not even just the tuition rates that are going up, it's our enrollment that caused us to jump $1.5 million. And that, it seemed to be the trend on really all of the cyber schools. So I just wanted to point that out. The bigger point in that is that the governor proposed to cap the charter school tuitions at $8,000. That's huge. That is actually more important than even any increased revenue that we could get at the moment. That is actually, we will save more money if he actually approves that to go through. And I'll give you an example of that. So I went through and calculated, again, we'll go back to the Commonwealth Charter. If we would have paid, if he would have capped that last year, we would have saved $1.1 million. That's just one cyber. If that would have been capped this year and we're only halfway through the year, we've already would have saved $1 million. So that tells you, and I have it estimated if we would save 1.5, but it's probably more like 2 million is what we would save if they would cap the charter. So I would ask you and the community to go out and contact Harrisburg, contact our legislators. This is super important in the budget this year, through all school districts, not just ours. So I wanted to point out that would be a huge improvement for all the districts statewide.
Chris?
That's for the cyber charters?
That's cyber.
Okay, that's not the brick and mortar.
No, that's just the
charter schools.
cyber.
Okay,
Yeah,
just cyber.
yeah.
Because I know a lot of people put them two together. That's why I'm wondering.
And I still think they're working on charter school reform as well.
Right.
That formula as well needs, to be
Okay.
also to be edited as well.
President.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Every month, Dr. Redmond, please decide, you or Joni, every month, if you could just give us a quick legislative update on how that's progressing. And we had talked about that during the finance committee, that if you wanted to get any sort of letters or anything together, I mean, I know the finance committee seemed pretty upbeat about that.
Yeah, I did include something in my last weekly
Yep.
memo with some information about cyber charters.
So, thank you. That's huge.
Wonderful, thank you. And then we'll move on to the next point, which is the capital projects and the funding options. Again, we talked in the finance committee and the facilities committee about committing funds towards some of those necessary projects. And then the use of the fund balance and the budget reserve. Again, we're in the preliminary stages, and as we get further into the process, we can see what that number would look like. So if we jump down to the revenues, we knew the loss of ESSER funding was going to happen, and that will happen in 25-26. The next point is the maintain of state funding. The governor did have a proposal, and it really calls for the most historic funding increase in public education. So we went through our proposed numbers, and overall, we are proposed to gain about $715,000. But here's what I want to say about that. So I'm going to have Colton pull up, I have the slide because I want you to remember, out of that 715,000, $500,000, $489,000 comes from the adequacy gap. And if you recall, I think it was up in Bucktail, I did a presentation about the local effort rate that is tied to the adequacy funding. So here you can see what that looked like. And I talked about the 33 percentile and the 66 percentile. And you see that the 33 percentile is 1.27%. We are at 1.31. If you fall below the 1.27 PDE, the Department of Education will decrease your funding, because and what that means is this. How they determine that is, what they're saying is that if you haven't grown your district by more than 10% in the past a decade, your adequacy gap is reduced or eliminated by the amount you would have generated to hit that 33 percentile.
Elizabeth?
President Roger, thank you. Okay, I guarantee you, I need a better explanation of that.
Okay,
I remember when you did it,
Mhm.
but I need a refresher course,
Mhm.
please. When people, like, I Googled adequacy supplement
Mhm.
and way too much information came
it's a
up.
lot.
So if you could help distill it down to a layman's term,
Mhm.
thank you. And what we need to do to get in the right percentage.
So we are sitting right now at the right percentage, be at 1.31%.
Yeah.
But it's not much above the 1.27%. If we fall under that, they will
Yes.
eliminate, I don't think they'll eliminate it, but they will decrease it until we would have hit that. What that means is, has your school district, has your community contributed to your school funding? The only way to contribute to your school funding is through taxes and whatever that would look like. So if we would take years off of not contributing to any kind of tax revenue to our district, that local effort rate will drop.
Elizabeth?
Roger, thank you. Would this count? And I'm not expecting, we can talk about this next month, the finance committee or whatever. If we do some shifting around with the taxes that we collect, and I'm talking about earned income, business, however that washes out.
It would count.
That would count.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed. Okay.
And to kind of take that one step further, Elizabeth, I heard that. I heard you say that at the last meeting. And I am working on having someone come in and present those options to the board of what that would look like.
Roger,
Go ahead.
lovely.
So I just want to make sure.
Roger,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill.
Joni, I'm sorry, but I'm still confused. 1.27 or 1.31% of what?
It's a very large formula that they use, and I can break it down for you. I don't have the breakdown now, but PDE, the Department of Education, determines it through, it takes a compilation of your last 10 years of what you've contributed to the school district. And it runs it through a formula.
When you say that what we've contributed, that means local taxes.
Yes, local
right?
taxes.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. It takes what the school district has contributed on their own, because there's three parts to the revenue. There's local, state, and federal revenues. It looks at your local, what you have done for your community, what you have done for your school district, and it runs it through a formula. And it comes out to either, like I said, under the 33rd or over the 66th. If you fall in between, then you're doing your part, is what they're saying. And that's the simplest terms. And I can get the formula for you if you want. I can definitely do that, but it's a much larger picture.
Elizabeth?
Well, no, that'd probably confuse me more, but basically, if I understand what you just said, you're saying that PDE sort of determines where your tax structure should be. Is that correct?
They want to, I take it as they want to make sure you're doing your part as the local, for your local community, for your local school district.
If I may, so
Mhm.
the PD has an expectation that there's local effort, local tax effort
Mhm.
to contribute towards the cost of running the schools in their community. And that expectation, they put through this gigantic formula that Joni's making reference to, and they come up with this number that seems kind of arbitrary to me, but it's the number that they come up with. And they look at all of the districts in the state and look at the contribution rates. And they say that anyone that's in that kind of middle third from 33% to 66% in the spread of all districts is taxing at about the right amount. If you're taxing too much, then they say you
don't need.
that you don't need the adequacy funding.
Mhm.
If you tax too little, then the state says the local effort, the amount that the local taxpayers are contributing through local taxes to the district isn't enough, and they reduce the adequacy payment.
Correct.
So we want to always stay in that sweet spot of above the 33rd percentile and below the 66th percentile, so we can maximize the amount of adequacy funding that we get from the state. Does that help, Bill?
Yes, thank you.
Elizabeth, you had a comment?
Oh, no, thank you. That was covered.
Okay. Chris, go ahead.
So let me ask this. If taxpayers keep moving out and the seniors can't afford to pay the taxes and they move out and our tax revenue keeps dropping, then what?
I've not seen that trend. Our tax revenue keeps increasing. Our real estate taxes increase every year. I've not seen that be a trend.
You've not seen the taxes increase be a trend?
No, I've not seen it drop. I've not seen us receive less real estate tax revenue.
Okay, I'm just curious, so if that starts to happen, then what?
Well, then, yeah, absolutely, we'd have to take a serious look at
What we're spending.
what would we doing? What would we need to do?
But
Okay,
Jeff?
Tony, this percentile is calculated not just on real estate tax, correct? It's on
It's on,
all tax,
tax.
all revenue
yeah,
received from all forms.
correct. Yes.
Okay, so it's not just real estate.
It's not. It's business privilege, LST, EIT. It's all, it would, and that might differ from district to district, what your
Right,
local
but it's
revenue
still
is.
whatever your
It's
total
still
local effort
all
is.
of it, correct.
so it would be nice essentially to get more industry and stuff into the county to beef that up.
Okay,
Oh,
Elizabeth?
that's the last, it's when we have our next meetings with the commissioners or whenever we find out, maybe you could ask, when are they anticipating the next assessment to take place? Because it's been a while. I'm not saying they should. I'm just, so we're informed. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Butch?
I'm just trying to fully understand this. So if we continue to, or if we start not raising taxes and our number drops below the 33 percentile, not only are we losing that money we could capture by raising our taxes, but we also get penalized by the state for not raising taxes.
Yes.
Correct,
Okay, just wanted to double check I heard you right.
correct.
Thank you.
Wow.
May I?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. But I think that's the kickers. It's all based on how much we spend per year. I mean, if we decrease our spending per year,
Mhm.
No, it's really not.
Mm-mm.
Nothing to do.
It has absolutely no bearing on that. It's based upon, again, the calculation of how much your local community is putting toward your school district. It really
Okay.
doesn't
Maybe
It's
matter.
we
about
should have a
revenue. It's
different-
about revenue,
It is.
not expenditures.
Revenue generation,
Well,
yes.
in kind of roundabout way, Elizabeth, I see what you're saying. If we had a smaller budget then and kept the local revenues the same. then the
Oh, it's all
proportion of local
relative.
revenues would
Right.
look like it's
Yes,
bigger in proportion. So
That's-
yes, there's
Yes.
something to that.
thank you for,
If we got our
okay.
expenses down, we would have more money for other things. We wouldn't have to do tax raises and everything.
well, that's another thing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Good job. Thank
Okay, you have anything else then, Joni, or?
the other 2 points on there was, again, discussing about the potential tax increase and then investment opportunities. We still have our CDs and our money markets. Now you'll see the interest rates are a little bit lower this year.
Yeah.
But we still have invested very wisely with the additional CDs and the money market accounts.
Colton, can you pull up slide number 5?
That one.
No. Slide 5 of 9. Yeah, the no tax thing.
That one.
That one. So I do have a question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, so we got 24, 25.
You're looking at the PSERS rates or?
No, I'm just looking at the top in the blue.
Oh, yeah.
24, 25, got 25, 26, 26, 27. 27. Oh,
You're talking about.
you already
PSERS
changed
rates.
that, didn't you?
Nope, it's up in the PSERS rates. So there's a typo in the PSERS
Typo.
rates.
Oh, yeah, the Peters rates. It's 2067 to
Oh.
28.
Gotcha.
So just wanted to point that
I'll
out.
fix that.
Okay. All right.
you.
No, that's,
They were
all
just
right.
transposed.
I might be here in 2067, but I don't know about you, Roger.
No, I'm not gonna be. I can guarantee that. So, all right,
I don't
so,
wanna be.
huh?
I don't wanna be.
So, all right. That it? Thank you, Johnny. Okay, next up is student government reports. First up, Central Mountain High School. Claire?
I should have unlocked my computer to be prepared, but
That's okay.
I know. I promise I clicked on it to open. Okay.
Speak from the heart.
I've done that once or twice. Recently at the high school, we have all of our winter sports, including basketball, swimming, wrestling, and bocce ball in full swing. Congratulations to Cameron Bear for breaking multiple records last week for swimming, the wrestling team for winning districts again and moving on to states. Some more exciting news. Congratulations to Chloe Corbin for her advancement into state a cappella jazz festival, and many students involved in Skills USA who won their competitions. Speaking of Skills USA, many students have noticed a new banner of Sophia Dressler for winning first nationally at Skills USA last year in technical math. Students and teachers alike have mentioned how important it is to acknowledge not only students' athletic accomplishments, but also their academic success. This is a great way to acknowledge Sophia's incredible achievement. In other news, we have 9 students leaving tomorrow morning to compete in district choir and 5 kids leaving on the 14th to attend district a cappella. I was supposed to not be here because they were supposed to leave today, but it snowed. In student government, we have decided to tackle a huge new topic, curriculum.
Whoa.
The past weeks during WIN, we have discussed graduation and credit requirements, what electives we offer, and other concerns about our school's curriculum as a job market and what is needed to be successful in today's world are rapidly changing. As far as we, the students, and Mr. Borelli know, this is the first time in our district's history when students have had the opportunity to not only discuss, but directly impact curriculum. When we created this body of students who care deeply about their academic success and environment in school, these are the big issues we wanted to discuss and have impact on. Being able to have respectful and open-minded conversations with our teachers and administrators have given us the opportunity to make and continue to make huge positive changes and give our insight to things affecting students. We know curriculum is the meat and potatoes, so to speak, when it comes to things that are important in a school district. Knowing that, we understand that changing curriculum is a huge and complicated ask. We know this will take time, which means the seniors graduating this year will likely not see the new curriculum be implemented. But despite that, we all want to say thank you to Mr. Mainford, Mr. Borelli, the board, and Dr. Redmond for allowing us to make change and for giving us the space to have a voice. The environment in the high school and relationship with you is so much more transparent and positive than it was whenever we were freshmen. There's much more open communication, and we cannot thank you enough for your time, energy, and thoughtfulness you've given to our ideas and suggestions. It is such a different environment. It is so much easier to talk to you than other superintendents, and the relationship is much more open than it was when we first started high school. And although it is sad, the seniors will not get to see a huge change curriculum before we graduate, we know we are setting up the younger students to have a really big, important issue to tackle, and we hope we have set them up for success with the relationship that myself and the president and Mr. Borelli and Dr. Redmond and all of you have created. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Roger,
Elizabeth,
Yes. Oh, Claire.
or Elizabeth.
Oh,
talk to
sorry.
your microphone, please.
Thank you. Curriculum. That is a beautiful world. How are you ever going to even decide which category to touch?
Oh, we've started.
Oh, you have? Will you keep us
We
updated?
have,
'Cause-
we will. We have started. We met with Mr. Varelli on Wednesday during our club time for the last hour and a half of the day and just started talking about different things we can set up, especially with our new schedule. It can look completely different in 2 years from how it looks right
Mhm.
now. We talked about maybe having pathways. You start when you come to high school, like how you can do CTE classes, but
Yeah.
it's like, here's one that's more related to math and science. Here's one that's more literary and social studies based. Here's one that's language based. Here is a more generic approach for students who don't know what they want to do. But yeah, we want to set up kids for success in any way we can, and curriculum is it. And we have tackled smaller
Sure. get your feet-
things
yeah.
for the well-being and mental health and
Mhm.
happiness of students, like the early dismissal, and things like that. And I think the next group of kids coming in and seniors, but we're leaving, are ready to dig in. So
Beautiful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Appreciate it, Claire.
Thank you, Claire. I love, I love the reports and the stuff that you let us in on about. But if you want to see the fruits of your labor for later on, become a board member.
I've thought about it.
There you go.
The plan is attorney, so I don't know if I'll be around here later, but if I am.
Be a board member.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up, we have the hearing of visitors.
No, wait.
Oh, middle
No,
school.
no.
We got to hear from the middle school.
It's Logan? Oh, Mia.
She's nervous enough
Now,
and you're cutting her
oh my
out.
gosh, okay, well, that was, you were listed under hearing of visitors, that's why I
Oh,
did
it's Central
that.
Mountain Middle School.
So-
We skipped.
Okay, Central Mountain Middle School, Mia.
Hello, members of the KCSD board. My name is Mia Barth, and I'm the fifth grade representative and treasurer for student government at Central Mountain Middle School. I'm looking forward to sharing exciting updates and positive events at CMMS. First, we've held thrilling recognition rallies where we recognize students who have had impressive grades and outstanding behavior. The rallies also include fun games and competitions to celebrate our school spirit. This school year, our staff decided it would be a good idea to attempt a fire drill from the cafeteria. An amazing accomplishment that all grade levels successfully made it out of the building in under 1 minute. And for middle schoolers, that's pretty impressive. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate our school on some exciting news. Due to dedication and hard work last school year, Central Mountain Middle School has successfully exited school improvement status. This achievement reflects the commitment to excellence and growth shown by everyone in the building, including administration, staff, and students. We are proud to be Wildcats at CMMS. There's a very exciting event coming up at CMMS. It is the Trench Ball Tournament. A little bit of background for our Trench Ball Tournament. All grade levels took time to create their own team to compete. Each team has a total of 10 to 12 people to be able to participate. 5th and 6th grade students will play on February 26th from 3:30 to 6. 7th and 8th grade students will play on February 27th from 3:30 to 6. Each team had to send one member of their team down to Mr. Gill's room and collect permission slips to hand out to their team members. They will need to be returned by February 19th. Behavior matters. If students want to attend the Trench Ball Tournament, they must have 0 out-of-school suspensions, 0 in-school suspensions, and 0 bus suspensions. Last but not least, our Snowball School Dance was a hit. We had over 500 students in attendance. Students enjoyed drinks, snacks, and an Enchanted Forest themed backdrop to take pictures with friends. I want to give a big thank you to our student PBIS team and everyone at CMMS who makes our school a great place to be. We can't hide our Wildcat pride. Thank you for your time and support.
Roger, go ahead.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I actually have a question myself. Mia, what's trench ball?
That's what I was gonna.
Trench ball is dodgeball, but you have there's like a rectangle in the corner of the gym, and if you get out, you stand in the trench, and your team members can throw you a ball, and if you catch it, you're back in.
Oh, so it's kind of like if you get out, you have a chance to come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's an updated version of our old dodgeball.
That'll work.
You don't have the big, like, they don't throw the kickballs.
Oh, it's, okay. Well, I was wondering about that because I know used to whale them, so. All right.
Good job.
That's all I didn't know what trench ball was.
Okay, sounds good. All
We
right.
have games
Thanks,
like
Mia.
Thank you.
Good job.
There's a reason you don't know what
We
it
had
is.
sticks and stones when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's the reason.
All right. So, done with the reports. Let's move on to hearing of visitors. Do we have anybody? No? Okay. Moving on. Next up, superintendent's report.
So I have a few things to talk about. First of all, congratulations to Kurt Lynch and his team. They were able to obtain a grant for CTC equipment to the tune of about $85,000. And also another $7,000 for, it's an agriculture for youth education program. So Kurt's continuing to do a great job. He and his team bring in money to help support CTC across the district. At the same time, we're looking at a new articulation agreement with the SUNY, the South University of New York, with our early childhood and preschool program. So we're looking at more ways to branch out and connect with more credit-bearing opportunities for our students. I got a phone call last week from a gentleman from St. Paul's Episcopal Church who wanted to thank Robb Elementary and Tyler and his team for the partnership they have. If you'll recall, every year they do their winter concert right in the parking lot outside the church.
Right.
And then later in the year, Robb Elementary does a food drive to help support their food pantry that they have out there. And they said the recent donations that Robb Elementary brought to their food pantry has stocked their food pantry for 3 months.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so a great job to Tyler and his team. I'm sorry he left to not hear
Yeah.
that in person for the work that they're doing to help continue to participate with the community. It's a busy time for our students, both in and out of the classroom. As you heard from Claire, Skills USA, Central Mountain High School basketball, swimming, wrestling, Bucktail basketball are looking to the postseason for all of the competitions that are coming up. Our theater troupe is getting ready for the spring performance, and musicians and singers from both schools are traveling to district concerts and competition, district and regional. In the classroom, second semester is underway for high school students, or our middle and elementary are continuing their learning every day. February is a challenging month. It's still dark, the weather is crummy. It's even though the weather is the worst, our students and our teachers and our staff will are engaged, making sure that they're making a difference for our kids every day. So I want to say a huge thank you to our students and our parents for sticking through what's the toughest time of the year and kind of keeping the nose to the grindstone and showing some good success. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, committee reports. Policy.
We had our meeting and we are officially done with the cyclic reviews. We went over a couple different policies that we have coming up for the first read, and that was really it. We kept it kind of short and sweet.
Okay.
It was done.
All right, good deal. Okay, next up, facilities.
Okay, we had our first facilities meeting in a while, since before the holidays. I guess we last met back in the fall. We had our first one on January 27th, and we had a rather ambitious agenda that day. And I think we have a lot of recommendations here for you to consider on tonight's agenda for vote next week. First of all, we had a presentation from Sharon Berger, the food service director, and two groups of students, one from the high school, one from the middle school, who have been part of a furniture design committee. And they did a really nice job of doing a lot of research on new furniture for both of the cafeterias in each of the two buildings. They surveyed the students, they worked with the vendor and with Sharon, and they've put a lot of time into this, and we got to see some of the designs and the drawings that of the furniture that it's going to be purchased, which will be purchased with money that has been saved for this purpose by the food service department. And I think the committee was very impressed with the job the kids did, and also with the design for the cafeteria furniture. We got to see what it's going to look like, some drawings and so on. And like I said, all of this, with the exception, I guess there's a couple pillars in the middle school cafeteria that will need some repair that will be taken, which I'm not sure of the dollar figure, but it will be taken out of the general fund. So that will be that furniture will hopefully be purchased and ready to be, I think, put in there over the summer, be ready for the next school year. Our second presentation we had was from the McClure Group about an update on the solar project that we've been kind of looking into over the last year or so. Alyssa Wingefeld and her group gave us an update on some of the things that are new in this proposal that they have. We looked at, they gave us a little more information on what it would look like at Liberty Curtin if we were to go with that school. And they talked about, gave us some updated numbers on some savings in that. So that's kind of an ongoing thing. The committee is going to continue to discuss that further and see what direction we want to go with that if we choose to go into that project at some point. We had a number of things that you will see on the agenda. First of all, the sound equipment, and I think we talked about this recently. The sound equipment in the high school, the Central Mountain High School auditorium, is extremely outdated and antiquated. I think it's been here since the building opened. And so we discussed, I guess they've had a consultant from Penn State come in and analyze it. We had 4 bids to replace this with some hopefully state-of-the-art things. And you'll see that on tonight's agenda for vote on next week. There are 4 proposals, and I think B&H was the one. So we recommend the approval on that quote. The Mill Hall, we had mentioned last time we were going to try and get along with it, replacing the automated HVAC units at Mill Hall, but they've gotten to the point now where we were going to try to do them one at a time, but they're just too problematic and too far gone. So we're recommending that be replaced along with the 3 HVAC units in this building, which are also at end of life, and they're both greatly in need of replacement. So those will be replaced using some of the funds that Joni talked about, that we're going to vote to hopefully transfer. That 1.3 million surplus will cover those 2, along with the tennis court projects. We have the tennis courts here and at Bucktail need some major work and basically replaced. And so that's part of the project that the 1.3 million will be covering too. And that will be, you'll see some information on that in the agenda too. So those are major projects that we feel that, well, they both really need it because they're the ones that need to be up to PIAA regulations. So that project needs to be done as well. We talked about the Bucktail backstop. It needs to be replaced for the baseball field up there. It's not only, I think it needs to be repositioned and moved backwards to meet up with PIAA regs. And so that also will be on here as an item. Bucktail High School, there'll be recommended that we use some funds from the general fund 10 to purchase a new zero-turn mower to replace the one up there. Sam surveyed all of his crew, and they said that that was probably one of the highest priority things. The one there has over 2,000 hours on it. So we got bids, and I think Daughters, if I remember correctly, were the low bidder. So we're going to recommend that for approval as well. Some information, the Bucktail Stormwater repair is still under negotiation and discussion with the parties involved. The family consumer science room in this building, it needs some work. I guess Fred Hoy's class is going to be doing some designing of what what his drafting and design class is going to give us some design for that. And then that will be then shared with the contractor when we put out some bids to do that work. And we discussed a new traffic pattern at the middle school, some ideas that Sam had about to alleviate some of the traffic congestion over there, which has been an ongoing problem for a long time. He has some ideas about maybe looping the traffic up through, I guess, over by the auditorium, and widening some of the roads, so on, but from Beach Creek Avenue. And so it's something that obviously is going to need some further discussion. And also there's a need for a couple additional classrooms in the middle school for a special education classroom and English language classroom. So they've been suggested that we use some space in the library that they feel Sam and Dr. Redmond feels there's adequate space there to create 2 classrooms, which would be state-approved size classrooms for that purpose. So I think that project's still in the early stages, and I'm not sure, we'll keep you up to date on how that progresses. So as I said, there was a lot of stuff we went over. There's a number of items on the agenda for your approval, and hopefully you'll be okay with those. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next up, finance.
Roger, I
Yes.
got a quick question.
Go ahead.
With the furniture at the schools and that, is that like in a 10-year project, 5-year? Or?
You mean for the cafeteria?
Yeah,
No, that is strictly money that has been allotted from the food service department
Okay.
itself. It's not part of the,
what happens with all the old furniture?
we're gonna,
Yeah, we're gonna put it up on.
Put it up.
municipal bid.
Okay, so you're gonna sell it out then? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know when that happens, because I know some people that might be interested
It'll be out
in that.
on municipal bid. We have to put it out.
And the other big projects like the paving, the tennis courts and all that, is any of that 10-year or is that?
yeah, those are, all of those projects that I just mentioned here have been listed on that 10-year plan for quite a while.
Okay. That was it.
Okay. All right, moving on. Finance.
We had a meeting on the 28th. A scheduled presentation drew because they felt there was a conflict of interest. We had a presentation by Benecon, who's the administrator for the Public School Health Insurance Cooperative regarding our district healthcare plan. And the consensus was we should stay with the option of self-funding through the plan. As Joni discussed, we just transferring funds for the various projects, which Jeff just went over. We had our preliminary budget update. There was a request for $500,000 for software to replace the current accounting software. We got the same report on interest earnings that you had earlier this evening. And probably the most significant thing, or one of the most significant things, at least, was that we're now offering the employees an opportunity to enroll in a Roth IRA, which is a new benefit. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up, safety and security.
Our meeting was quite short. We did some discussion on telephone systems and we did some discussion on the upcoming safety and security thing down at Mechanicsburg.
Okay.
That was about it.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Next up is the charter ad hoc.
All right. We're on here twice. If you go down under J in the minutes, there's also a slot there for the renewal meeting. So I'm just gonna combine them both.
Okay, that's fine.
The first meeting we had was on January 23rd, and it was a quick 20-minute meeting. And all we discussed was dates that are going to be meeting on. So we discussed a couple meeting dates. And we had to have an ad hoc meeting after that. Then we have to go back and we're going to discuss with the charter school. And then we're going to go back with that. So we're up to speed on February 3rd. The ad hoc committee had a meeting. The first thing presented was data discussion by Dr. Redmond. And Dr. Redmond reminded, I'm just going to read our minutes here. Dr. Redmond reminded the committee that in determining whether to renew the charter school agreement, they must rely on the 6 legal criteria set for the charter school, which were provided to them at their initial meeting. Based on current data, none of these criteria indicate grounds for non-renewal, including the key criterion related to student performance. Dr. Redmond spoke about student growth. The charter school's performance in language arts and mathematics showed positive trends, with growth in 23 to 24 rebounding to the pre-pandemic levels, although they remain below the state average. They are coming back. A discussion took place among committee members regarding school performance and a potential for collaborative efforts with the charter school. I said it would be nice, and we discussed it, if we could do stuff to help them. If we knew of something we felt it would help the charter school progress more, the two schools working together a little bit, and the consensus was, yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Then we went over the charter school request that they have. They sent us a page on it. Out of that first meeting, we said, why don't you send us a list of some requests that we can get working on? One of them was, the first one was to eliminate the second assessment required in paragraphs in section 6A. They felt it was just being hard, wasting a lot of time doing their extra assessments. Mr. Johnson brought up a good point that you have to continually assess so that you can't fix it if it's not broken type of scenario. You got to know where you are to keep moving forward. Dr. Redmond explained that while MAP testing helps identify students in need further assistance, a second diagnostic test could be beneficial in pinpointing specific academic needs. The school wants to eliminate the second layer of testing. They already use MAP data to identify areas for improvement. The action that we picked on it was Dr. Redmond was gonna do a follow-up with Mrs. Kennedy at the charter school and see where they were with that. And then that will help us form a response to assist them or whatever. The second one we did, the students in grade 12 who have successfully completed the Act 158 graduation pathway can now be excused from additional assessments and interventions. That being that we kind of all agreed on that. If they're already there, we don't need to keep assessing them. They're there, they're graduating, they know what they're doing. The action that the committee took is we agreed on that the committee is in agreement with the modification requested by the charter school. The wording will be changed to students in grade 12 who have successfully completed all requirements of a graduation pathway under Act 158 may be excused from the additional assessments. That section that now states students in grade 12 who have successfully passed the required Keystone exams can be used. That part of it will be removed. Okay. The next one, number 3, was they would like to increase the enrollment from 475 to 495. We had quite a discussion on it. There were 2 members that expressed no concerns. 1 member raised a concern, and that concern has to be invalid because we can't put a money figure on it. So we decided to bring it here so that we can discuss it. The action on it was the committee will bring a topic up for further discussion at the upcoming board meeting. So let me finish the 4th one, then we can come back to that. They want to cease the annual appearance before the board to describe their annual comprehensive data report. What they explained more or less in layman's terms is they felt coming over here, doing a big report in front of a meeting and going home was kind of a waste because they get battled with questions and stuff. So I said, why don't we let them submit an email, their report to all of us? We can all read it and then we can formulate some questions if we need to, send it back. And then they would come and give us a report to answer our questions. Kind of like the same thing that you have pushed. We don't want to buffalo Joni with questions at a meeting. We want to email them so that she has time to get them. We're kind of on the same page with that with this. The action that we agreed to take was the charter school will continue to send a report to the board of directors for review. The committee will prepare questions in advance so that the representatives are not caught off guard when they present their report to us. So they will send it to us ahead of time so we can go over it and kind of formulate what we need. And that's kind of what we agreed on.
Okay.
So we kind of need to go back to number 3. If we're all in agreement with all the other 3 things I read, the 4th one that we just need to come to an agreement on is the increase of 20 students. I kind of felt that I don't see a problem with it at all. If we have some students here that are not doing well and they can go over there and do well, we're helping a student. That's the way I look at it. it was brought up that that's a lot of money to spend, and it is, but it's about the student, it's not about the dollar. And if we have students over there that want to come back here, and if they do better, then that works for us here. But either way, 20 students, I mean, they could have said, we want to take a cap off, but she didn't. She asked for a 20 student increase. I feel that's very acceptable. So did Bill. It's all about the student. If they feel they can go there and do better, I don't see a problem with that.
Roger?
Go ahead, Butch.
I think I could probably accept the 20 student increase in the cap if we agreed to cap the amount of special ed students going there. Because historically, we send students over there that are non-special ed, and they go over there and they're getting an IEP, and then now they're special ed students, which increases the cost about twice for us. If we could have a cap on the special ed, I don't know, is there a percentage of our students that we think are special ed, maybe do the same thing if it's 25%?
They have 33% right now.
Which I'm not sure if that is something that we could do. There's some,
Discriminatory.
well, I don't know if it's discriminatory, but it's charter schools are public schools like we are, and they're required to provide an education to the students based on the students' needs. And if through the IEP process, it's determined that the student needs an IEP, then the school is required to provide that. I don't know that it would, if it's within the bounds for us to say that there's a restriction on that.
I hear what you-
Yeah, finish, please. The only thing I was getting at, I know we heard earlier that sometimes the charter school doesn't provide services that are needed by special ed students over there. So, and I know we spend an awful lot of money on special ed students over there. If there's a way that we could, even if we have our special ed department, their special ed department get together and go over the IEP together to make that determination. I mean, if we send a student from here doesn't have an IEP, and they go over there and they get an IEP, I think we have the right to review everything to see if that IEP is relevant or not. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think from the federal law standpoint, I'm not sure
Okay.
because we're not part of the IEP team.
All right.
But would it not hurt for the two IEP teams to get together? And
I think
And
there's
work
lots of
on things?
opportunities for some collaboration there. And
Yeah.
actually, Tracy and I met today and talked about some of those things. And
okay,
that's in the works.
because I think we could both help each other.
Sure.
Okay.
I have a question quick. The
Sure.
purpose of, am I correct in that originally, I think when the charter schools started becoming popular, was the reason for charter schools to provide something that the public schools do not provide, such as curriculum, specialized curriculum.
Yeah, so if I have a chunk here, there's a briefing that I provided to the ad hoc committee, and I think I may have shared with the rest of the board. The intent of the legislature for enacting the charter school laws to provide opportunities to establish and maintain schools that accomplish all of the following: improves pupil learning, increase learning of all opportunities for all pupils, encourage the use of different and innovative teaching methods, create new professional opportunities for teachers, including the opportunity to be responsible for the learning program at the school site, provide parents and pupils with expanded choices in the types of educational opportunities that are available within the public school system, and to hold the schools under the Act accountable for meeting measurable academic standards, and provide the school with a method to establish accountability systems.
And I'm historically, I believe that the one thing that Sugar Valley based some of their uniqueness off was going to be the small class sizes. If we raise that cap and they add more, then their class sizes are increasing. And I'm pretty sure our elementary schools at least have pretty much the same class size in some of our schools.
They've
And
not discussed class sizes with us at all.
and I think that was,
I'm kind of weird on both things. I remember when the school district, and this was before you folks,
Yep.
when they closed the school, that was the reason the charter school came into play.
Mhm.
And it's been a battle ever since. And I feel like the school district made them create that school. And now we're trying to put a thumb on it all the time. And I think it's time for the negotiations to go smoother. And I think it's time for both schools to work together and stop all the
Fine.
bickering and everything else. And
5 years ago, the negotiations went well. It was just more of an accountability thing
it
that we
cost
wanted
us
to see
over
on their part.
$110,000.
5 years ago,
Yeah,
we didn't use lawyers and stuff 5 years ago.
I'm told we did.
10 years ago,
10 years
maybe.
ago.
10 years ago,
10
we
years
did.
ago.
maybe
5
it was
years
10
ago,
5 years ago
we
was-
did not.
Was
Okay,
very
then
smooth.
it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well-
10 years ago, there was a lot of legal issues involved that we talked about, and then we had hearings and had all kind of stuff that went on. And it was fairly costly, but it was worth it because coming out of that, we discovered that there was a lot of things going on over Sugar Valley that were not kosher. We'll use the word kosher. So by bringing it out to the open, they did a lot of self-evaluation and fixed a lot of the problems
Right.
we had. So it was, yes, it cost us a lot of money. Should it have been closed at that time? It went to a vote. It was, I think it was 5-4 vote to keep it open at the time.
It was.
But
Yep.
it saved a lot because we got a better working relationship with them. They improved the quality of their education, which was, like you said earlier, it's all about helping the kids.
Mhm.
They did all that stuff and it worked out. So 5 years ago, I wasn't here, but I understand it was a very good negotiation last time. It
Mhm.
went well. So I'm hoping it works this time. I'm not sold on the 20 additional ones. It's gonna cost us that much money. That's what I was hoping by putting a cap on special ed. it
We
might be
can't
able to
talk
balance
about
out, but we
money.
can't do
So-
that.
I
So
think
if I can clarify that.
If-
real quick.
Roger,
So-
Hold on, Bill.
So the rules are that the board is not allowed to use the financial impact of the charter school on whether or not they renew the charter.
Right. And that was the point I was making the other night at the committee meeting. If we add 20 more students, there's two things. It will not only increase probably at $20,000 a student, let's say, that's $400,000. Plus the fact that if they increase their class sizes from 36.5 to 38, every time you increase your class size, it becomes much more difficult to increase achievement because you're spreading everybody so much thinner. So I can't, Chris, you're always the guy always talking about money and saving money.
Yeah.
And so that's my point. If
Money has
we're
nothing
already,
to do with this.
we are already spending what, $7 million, $8 million for the charter school, which I I understand that we have to do that. But I think the last time we set the cap for a reason. And I don't think that we should be opening that issue again. It should stay at 475 for those couple reasons. I cannot support increasing those numbers. I will not vote to approve it based on that. And I'd like to revisit a couple of the other items on there too, while we're at it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna say, I take the money completely out of it. If a student goes over there and does better, good for that student. I'm stuck in the middle here. They're in my district. I'm only trying to say this is right and what's right. If they say they can increase their class sizes to 38 from, what was it, 37.5 or 36.5? If they feel they can handle it, give them the shot.
But how can you effectively, that's one of the things that
That's up to
research
them to
tells,
decide.
research shows all the time, lower class sizes, particularly in the elementary grades, is critical to student success. And if you, I don't see how any teacher can effectively teach 38 students in a class. I mean, even at the secondary level, that you can effectively teach somebody at that level, or at that number. I just,
Well, they're obviously doing pretty good. They got 21 kids in National Honor Society. They're doing good over there. Have you ever gone over and watched a class or seen what's happening?
My
Yep.
son actually went there, but the
My,
whole thing
both my
is,
daughters
Yeah.
went there.
5
Yeah,
years-
I've seen it.
5
And
years
you're against
ago-
it.
5 years ago, when we renewed them, what was put into place was to help them improve. and
That's
they've
exactly
done that.
right.
So why would we change what's working?
Well, they did improve, so if they can go a little better to get a little more, there's not a problem with that.
I'm kind of on the idea of if it's not broke, don't fix it. So,
Well,
all
how
right,
would you
Bill,
like if we were restricting us?
Bill, you're good to go.
First of all, I think that, I hear what you said, Dr. Redmond, but I think that if you start considering economic factors for other reasons, we're in a gray zone, and I kind of think we'd end up losing. But that's just my opinion. Woody Hayes once said, the only statistic that matters is the final score. They've got a 97% graduation rate. I think we should leave them alone, let them do things the way they want to. There are kids, they just chose to be someplace else. The class size, I'm sorry, you're talking to somebody that 38 was normal. More than that was normal. And as for elementary school, well, you know, we had almost 100 kids in my first elementary school class.
that was
Now-
back in the 1960s, Bill.
Actually, it was in the 1950s, Jeff, but people are people and knowledge is knowledge. But with our large classes, we did okay with my high school class. We had a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner. You know, we have a Yale Law graduate. We did okay. I think that I just don't see a problem. And I think that if they want the 20 more, they should get the 20 more.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay. Elizabeth?
When are we supposed to actually vote on this next week?
We're supposed to
No.
talk about it. We have a meeting with them on Monday.
Is that a public
And-
meeting? Because I've
Yes,
going to the other ones, I really enjoyed it.
yes.
Is there any?
It's a
Interesting.
public meeting and we're hoping to have everything ironed out then
Okay.
so that we can vote on it next Thursday.
Okay, well, I'll add my 2 cents as a board member, Roger.
Go ahead.
Thank
You already have the floor.
Okay. I will say this. I think we're very fortunate to have a charter school here because they offer things that we probably will never offer. They have a huge following. The community loves them. They do things better, some of the things because they're smaller than we do. And that's my opinion and my observation. I know parents that send their kids there and who have sent their kids there, who started at Keystone, and it wasn't a good fit for them, but their kids did really well at charter. We have a lot to learn from them. And we have resources that could also help them. What I mean by resources is I really want to see the partnership grow. There's no reason why we can't start the discussions of sharing, maybe it's purchasing paper or something that might save a little bit of money in the long run. I absolutely are going to support the 20%. They work darn hard. And the 20 kids, not 20%, I apologize. I can't point any fingers at them. I'm proud that they're in our district and they've done a heck of a job.
Roger.
Okay.
I didn't want to bring this up, but I'm going to. we all know that the public looks down on this school. We all know that the public looks up on, some of the parents look up at this school. It's the same thing over there. Some people like it, some don't. But the community support, the public support, and those kids support that school. They're not afraid to go to school.
Yeah.
Like they are here. They're doing some things right.
That's an opinion, Chris.
It is, but it's a fact.
They're not afraid to go to school here. You just heard Claire talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I disagree with that.
Okay,
Dr. Redmond, do you have
All right.
comparative data between our district and the charter school?
Actually, I could, yes, I can share that with the board. I don't have it set up so I can display it. You want me to just send it out?
Yeah.
all right.
Roger,
Go ahead, Bill.
Dr. Redmond, if you're going to send out comparative data, you should be comparing apples to apples. It all should be presented in the same way as the data from the charter school.
It's, there's no way to download the data, so it looks the same, but we put our data on top of the charts that you saw in the charter ad hoc committee, so it's the same data on the same chart.
The data, well, when we get into the future ready, we can talk about the data.
Okay, Butch.
I'm just kind of offended with Chris saying about not safe here, people not feeling safe here. I think we heard from Claire tonight, it's a lot better atmosphere than we had, which I assume it means it's a lot safer than it was. I think by him sitting over there saying that, it kind of makes us look bad. We're trying to get a better light in the public's eye, saying how good we are, and we're not having issues like we've had numerous years ago. So I think our school is a lot safer than it has been in years. I think we're making great strides in doing that. And I can see it being even better next year. So I think I'm a little upset about saying that, Chris.
Well, I didn't mean to offend you, but we have parents that are contacting us saying there's a major bully problem still going on. We all know it. We've discussed it. Dr. Redmond and I were in a meeting just a couple of weeks ago with a woman about it. We know it's happening. And it's probably happening over there too. It's life. But the image is what I'd like to see improved. They have a great image. People love them. That's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking us down. I'm saying I'm looking at the overall picture.
Okay.
I think we have a great image also, so I'm gonna defend our school district. I mean, tooth and nail. I think the Sugar Valley Rural Charter School is doing a good job at a lot of things that we don't provide. They do provide an essential service. It gives kids a choice. It gives parents a choice. That's what it was designed for, what, 20 years ago when it was first developed. But also we have to look at the taxpayer's dollar. I know we can't use money as a deciding matter, but allowing 20 more students to go from here, which if we don't send them there, they might choose the cyber aspect of it. But if we need to do anything, we need to talk to them and find out what we can do, like you said, to join forces. I would love to see some of their students come over here and go to our CTE program. That's what they were designed to do, prepare kids for this, for the future jobs. Or current technology program is one of the best in the area. Send them over here and let them take that courses, work out some kind. That should be part of this agreement also, having an agreement with them to do stuff like that.
They are working on starting right now to build a VOTEC building. That's in play. They have career-ready programs in place.
Yeah.
And like you said, they can go there, they can go to cyber school or anything. If they go to cyber school, it costs us even more money.
Okay, I'm gonna
Rod,
have Jeff
So
state, and then we're gonna,
Bill has something.
well, we'll let Bill talk, and then we're gonna quell the conversation on this. I mean, the
Well, we
committee
have to
still,
come
the
up
committee
with
still,
something to talk to.
the committee
Monday
still
night.
needs to discuss. with them and work things out. So, okay,
Well, I just, if I could,
go ahead.
there are two other items on here that I think are still hanging out there. As far as the second part to number one, the additional assessments. I don't know what you found out from Tracy about what they're doing with their additional assessments.
May I
But-
respond to that? 'Cause
Sure.
I met with her earlier today, and it's a fairly, it's not an easy thing to define. So what I asked is if her team and our team can sit down together and work through both what the intent of that paragraph was in the charter and how they're working to ensure that the supports that they're providing with their MTSS system is working, and how they're using and what they're using for diagnostic assessments, so that we can have a more full picture of what it is that they're doing, so that we can give a better update to the ad hoc committee.
Okay,
Well, then I don't know how we can say that we're in agreement on number one when we talk to them, because I don't have anything to base that on. If, I don't know what additional assessments they're using. I mean, they're doing the map 3 times a year and they don't want to do anything else, is what this is telling me. Which is not, it's just not educationally sound. So I'm totally, without more information and exactly what they're gonna do, I don't know how you can assess somebody and then not come up with some interventions based upon other tools.
And I think they are doing some of that, but being able to define precisely what that is, I think is the work that they still have to go through.
we didn't agree we were okay with number one. We agreed that we were okay with him finding out more about the assessment program and what they're doing so that we can map it all together.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, whenever you said that, I thought you actually meant that we're all in agreement with
No.
number one.
No.
So,
We
okay,
were in agreement with Dr. Redmond going to talk to Tracy. and
okay,
And real
Getting
quick,
us more info.
okay, thank you.
and real quick on
Go ahead,
just,
Jeff.
I don't want to belabor this, but I just wanted to hit number 4 real quickly here. I was not in agreement with this either, because I think that one of the whole idea behind having them come and do their presentation on an annual basis is to share with the public who's paying for the charter school, what's happening over there. Getting a report sent to us through our email isn't doing that. So I think that they should continue to do that, whether they want to do it or not. I think that should be one of the things that they should be required to do.
That's not how we discussed it. We discussed it that they're going to send us their report so that we can all read it and put questions together so that when they do come, then they can answer them. They'll have answers.
That's what we're gonna do.
When are they?
Okay, so basically,
They didn't want to come over here blind and get a bunch of
Yeah.
questions thrown at them.
okay, so
Just
just
like
as long
we're
as
going.
they're still gonna be coming over and giving that report,
Yeah.
that way there's a transparency of what's going
exactly.
on.
That's what
All right.
we're asking.
So the way I understand this then is that the charter school is going to send us their presentation prior to coming over here. That way we can take a look at it and ask questions
Ahead of time.
ahead of time. So that way, like we said, like I
Right.
had suggested with Joni, everybody email the questions. So that way, whenever they're here, they can answer.
Right.
Okay, I can see that,
Yeah.
but it needs to be worded that way.
In
So-
the minutes, it says Sugar Valley Rural Charter School will continue to send a report to the Board of Directors for review. The committee will prepare questions in advance so the charter school representatives are not caught off guard when they present their reports to the board. That's exactly what we agreed on. Jeff, at the end of it, just said whatever.
That was
Um,
one vote.
okay, I'm trying to read this and find out where that actually says it in here.
It's right here if you want it. It's the minutes that Christine sent to me.
Well, I'm looking at the minutes right now, so,
Okay.
Where we ended up.
okay. All right. So. Oh, okay. So those ones aren't actually on here. Okay. All right. So,
So we
All right.
felt we were okay with that. We're not doing, that way we're not asking them to do something we're not doing ourselves.
I get that.
Okay.
So, all right. Bill, I think you wanted to say something.
Well, it's a little out of context now, but it was simply when Chris and Butch were opining about the students' feelings of safety in the school and the parents, they could both be right. They perhaps things have gotten better than a year and a half ago, but that doesn't mean I'm still getting complaints. I can tell you that. So just something to keep in mind.
All right, thank you. All right. So now that we're done with that, okay, let's move forward with information. Treasurer's report. Any questions on that?
Question.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Joni, I just noticed this. I don't know if it's a typo or maybe I never noticed this before. On the treasurer's report, fourth item down, it's real estate. Interest rate is 0.45%. Is that because we locked in so long ago when everything was in a nosedive? Or just double, you don't have to answer now. And, oh, okay.
I'll answer it because what we basically do is we get the real estate money in and then we immediately transfer it into the general fund. So that interest rate is very low, but we don't keep the money in that account very long. We immediately transfer it out and put it into the general fund, which sweeps into that money market account, which has that 4% and over interest rate.
Okay, so that's, okay, that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
And would this be helpful for everybody? I mentioned this, I think, last year or so, but didn't really take root. If we could have just 2 more columns on this and would list maybe 12 months ago or 24 months ago, so we can just sort of see how it's evolving or where it's been, or if it's growing, or so there's some sort of comparison, or are we still not interested in that?
Is that something that the board would like to see or not?
How difficult would it be to do that, Joni?
Initially, it would take some time to put it together. The issue would be that just last year, we created that CD and we created that money market. So you're going to have very varying amounts in like the general fund from a year ago and 2 years ago. So I'm not sure what kind of picture it's really going to give you, because the general fund, we kept a lot more money in that account. Now we sweep it out and put it in the money market and the CD. So I'm not sure how good of a comparison. I mean, we can give it to you. I'm just not sure.
Is it gonna take longer than 15 minutes to do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, how about this? What about interest earned last year to date?
Yeah, that's on our finance report. We
Well, I mean,
already
if it
do
was
that.
on the same one, so we could see like a snapshot. Does anyone see how that might be how much interest we're making right now, then compare it to what last year's was? I mean,
Yeah,
is there any interest in that? I'm just,
Honestly, I don't.
okay, all
I'm
right,
not really
okay,
concerned about, I'm curious about what we got right now,
okay,
so,
all right,
all
thanks.
right. All right. Financial reports? Questions?
Uh,
All right, Elizabeth?
Thank you. All right, G2 financial reports. On page 1. Now, is this where we were talking about, please help me to remember. During the finance committee meeting, I noticed it wasn't in the minutes. Doesn't matter. But we decided that the interest rates, the interest earnings from the tax office would be included in the report that was in the finance committee meeting. It wasn't actually a PDF. It was actually typed into the agenda. Now, is that where this would have been, that interest from the tax office be, or would it be in the treasurer's report?
So I think you had just asked that at the last finance committee meeting.
Right.
And I thought you meant you wanted it included in the finance committee interest notes. That's how I took it as. I didn't understand you wanted it here. I took it as, because that's where all that interest information is in the finance committee.
Sure.
I took it as when you asked that to add it to that document in
No,
those notes.
That's understandable. So, but my question, okay, let me rephrase it. So if it wasn't isolated in that agenda for the finance committee meeting, what report would you see it being in? Would it be in the G1 or the G2? Or neither?
It would be in G1.
G1, okay. Would that be difficult to do, to add the tax office interest rate into the G1 so it's all in the same place?
No, that wouldn't be difficult.
Okay, that'd be super terrific. Maybe next month?
Yes, it's minimal, but yes, we can add it.
Okay, great. Just, well, if it's interest, it's interest.
Now,
All right.
it's a different fund. It's a different fund. It's Fund 15. It's not part of the general fund.
Oh, well, that's different then. Okay, my mistake. All right. So we'll just keep it the way you have it. It was better. Okay,
Okay.
because we don't want to confuse each other.
Correct.
That's why I was just hoping there would be an easy way, so every month we could see exactly how much interest the district was making that month.
Mhm.
But yeah, that would confuse people. So I'll
Okay.
just keep adding it myself.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
very good. Next, enrollment report. Questions?
Oh, I wasn't done with my questions, Roger. May I finish, please?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
All right, G2, page 2. I'm kind of curious. I never asked this question, so please help me to understand. G2, page 2. When we see all these cells that have zeros in them, like prior year to date, and just take a quick glance at the page. I'm not asking for specifics, please. I'm just trying to understand why there's so many zero values, and there's 48 cells with zero values. There's just a basic something.
Joni, is that an easy question to answer, or should this have been emailed to you? So that way you can look up and figure out what's going on.
I'll have to look it up.
Okay. So,
No, that's fine. I didn't need an answer tonight.
well, like I said before, please email these questions so that way they can answer. Same way as we're talking about with the charter school.
Yes, I understand that, but there's sometimes when emailing is not convenient it's easier to say it face to face. Okay, so she can, if I'm not clear, she can just get right back to me and I can answer the question, but I do understand what you're saying. And I respect it, but sometimes face to face is faster and easier. Okay.
I'm just looking at trying to minimize and keep a moving agenda here.
Yes,
So, all right.
thank you.
Is that
and-
it?
No.
Okay.
no. And Joni, like when I'm looking at page 3, when I see the cells that have double asterisks, if you could just kind of update us next time and like why those cells have double asterisks, excuse me. And then, is there any place on here, when we have like on page 5, we always see these topics like under category 3210. I'm just using an example on page 5. Like we'll see the 800 is always other. objects, and sometimes the other objects, they're very low, but sometimes the other objects categories are a little high. Maybe next month, if you could help explain to us what those other objects are. And then my last one is, I can never figure out where travel reimbursements are on this. Now I see them in the food section, but I never can understand where the travel reimbursements are for each of these categories. So maybe next time you could let us know which one we're supposed to be looking at. That would be so helpful. I'm just gonna keep, over the years, I just keep picking a little, once a year, I pick a little bit more. Thank you, it'll be very helpful.
Okay. Moving on, enrollment report. What? Elizabeth?
I've asked this, maybe a couple years ago, but I'll just bring it back up on the table to see if, the majority of the board would like to see this. The idea is just to add one more column to this report. And it would show max capacity for that brick and mortar school, for that grade.
I'm not really up
No.
for that. Anybody else?
No.
Okay,
Anybody else? No? Okay. Is that it? Okay, next. For the board on the job training.
Sure, Justin and I met with some folks from CareerLink to talk about an on-the-job training program. And through this program, the school district can be reimbursed for some of the employee cost, how much we're paying the employee if we're doing on-the-job training. So we started that work with them. And you'll see that in the attachment there kind of talks about what all of the program does. But essentially, we have 2 new employees in the tax office who need some on-the-job training. And through this this program with CareerLink, we're able to basically have the state supplant some of the costs from the school district while they're going through that on-the-job training.
Who's gonna be training them?
Noel and Stephanie who work in the tax office.
Are they all right with that? And is the union all right with that?
It's what people normally do when they come into a new job that they haven't done before. Is the
Right.
people who are already there kind of train them on how to do the job.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, it looks like this program or this flyer came out in 2019. Have we ever used this program before? I mean, I'm sorry, not this program. This opportunity before?
This is the first that we had heard of it.
Wow,
And
okay.
I don't know if it's just new into our area
Okay.
or what the deal was, but we saw the opportunity and the representative that we met with was very helpful and very thorough. And it was my sense that it was newer to our area.
Okay, well, I would love it. Lori is a wonderful woman.
Yep, Lori's a good person.
Yeah, she is a wealth of resources. I would love if there would be a committee that she could come and do some presentation for us on like what other things they offer or how this maybe this is a better program. I don't know. Or maybe this is, I have no idea, but I just know Lori has a wealth of resources and this is the first time I've heard about this. And it just seems like this might even be something that we might want to learn more about.
Well, I actually think that that is what we pay the administration to do, is to look into these issues and vet them and recommend them to us, which is what they're doing right now.
Okay,
So-
well, if there's any other updates, we'd
Okay.
love to hear how this might save us some money in training.
Yeah, and that's actually, we're looking, this is our first cut at this, but we're looking at other areas where we might be able to use this
Great.
program.
Great.
All right. Let's see. Next up is Future Ready.
I have Megan on here somewhere, just making sure she's actually here.
Yep, she is.
To sort of talk through our Future Ready report. She's done a lot of work. She and her team have done a lot of work to kind of look at our data and where we are this year. And you'll see some pretty good news in here, but I don't want to steal Megan's thunder. So Megan, if you would.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to unmute
And
at
Colton,
first,
could you
but
bring that
Colton
up?
fixed it. Thank you, Colton. As you know, each year when our state assessment data comes in, usually it's late fall or early December, we get sort of our future ready data report. And we kind of consider this the report card of the district. And it's sort of last year's data, but it's not finalized until that December range. So early December, we got our results from last year. So this is our academic growth data, our academic achievement data, as well as our graduation rates, career readiness rates, industry readiness rates, and all of that. So we aren't able in Future Ready Index.
Megan, I think the board can all see it on their laptops while Colton is working on displaying it for everyone who's joined us. Maybe you can start in on talking about the highlights that you have here.
Yep, absolutely. So we put together just a quick infographic of the highlights, and we have shared this on social media previously, so you may have seen this. But for our achievement for math, we are above the state average for our math achievement district-wide. For English language arts, we're really close to the state average, but you all know that we are implementing a new English language arts curriculum this year to address that very need. So we're really hopeful about that, and we have a good plan in place to address that area. For science achievement, again, we are above the state average, which is really fantastic news. If you go to that next section on that infographic, that is growth. And for math, English language arts, and science, we are above the state target for growth. So the state sets a goal for all districts to meet, and we met it in every single area for growth last year, which is fantastic. When you go to career readiness, again, we are well above the state average, meaning our kids are meeting the standards for their career readiness skills, which is a goal of ours in our comprehensive plan and all of our work. Graduation rate is the next thing on the infographic, and that is also above the state average. So we're proud of that. And our attendance rate is also above the state average. So you'll see that this short and concise little report card for our district shows a lot of phenomenal growth. Our data did not look like this a few years ago, and I think it starts to show the fruits of our labor, and that the district is definitely heading in a positive direction. We did share this via social media because we wanted to make sure that we're celebrating and contributing towards that positive image of the district, that we are doing really good things and that those things that we're doing are working, and that we're seeing the growth that we want to see in these areas. So we wanted to take the opportunity just to share that quick, high-level data overview with you tonight. And as a result of this data, I think it was Mia earlier that mentioned that Central Mountain Middle School came out of school improvement. So at the state level, the state designates schools that are in school improvement. And for a few years, Central Mountain Middle School has been in school improvement, but they improved enough in a single year to come out, which is incredible. We have some subgroups of students in other buildings that are still in need of improvement, but we have our formal school improvement plans that we submit every year, that the board also approves every year, for action items to improve in those areas. So we still have some targeted work to do, but this is overall very good news for where we are and where we're heading over the next few years.
All right, Chris?
Megan, is this separating out the different schools and the high schools and elementary and everything, or is it putting it all together?
We have to manually put it all together to get like that district level view. We do also have it broken out by school for our own sort of internal analysis as we're looking school by school. So we do have it that way. The Future Ready platform does it by school not by district. So we have to do the manual work of putting it together to make that district level. Because we're
All right,
comprised of 9 different schools.
The reason I'm asking that is because to look at this screen is not a true fair assessment. You've got to split it out between them. And I'm going to give kudos to Butch. And I'm going to explain to you why. I'm sitting here right here, and I sent some of this out to everybody here. But I went to the PA Future Ready site, and I'm just going to use an example. For Central Mountain High School, that's just a high school, okay? The statewide average is 53.9%. We're at 47.9. That was in English and language arts. and mathematics. Statewide average is 40.2. We're at 32. In science and biology, the statewide average is 59. We're at 44.3. Now, if you go down to the next line on there where it shows the growth, the statewide average is 75.4. Keystone Central academic growth score was a 50. Statewide average on mathematics for growth was 74.9. We're at 50. Science and biology, the statewide growth was 74.7. We're at 50. For the state assessment measures, the statewide average is 12.4. We came up 3.8. That's didn't do very well. Bucktail, in comparison,
Chris, was that Keystone Central
High School.
So
That's just
That's
one
Central
building out of the whole
Mountain High
district.
School.
Okay, that's
Okay.
okay. Confused. You kept saying Keystone Central. That's why.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Bucktail High School, statewide average is 53.9 in English language arts literature. They did 66.7. The statewide average in mathematics was 40.2. They did 50. Science and biology was 59.2 statewide average. They did 50. On the academic growth scale, English language arts, the statewide average was 75.4. They did 77. On the mathematics, the statewide average was 74.9, but the academic growth was 71. Meeting the growth standard was only at 70. On the science, with a statewide average growth score was 74.7, they actually came in at 84. So Bucktail rocked. Okay.
Told you that for years.
So the important thing to remember about the data that I just shared is that this is a summary of the entire district. It's not building by building.
Yes,
So we
but that's
talked-
not giving you exact looks at all the schools, and that's unfair to put it out that we're doing all this. When we look at the charter school, because I wanted to bring that up. Their statewide average for English language arts literature, the statewide average was 53.9, and they did 34.1. Their mathematics, the statewide was 40.2. They brought it up to 20. The science biology was 59.2. They got up to 44.9.
Chris, keep in mind, that's K through 12. That's not
This
like
is
a high
the high
school.
school.
No, but that since they are one building, that is their entire district.
No, I went through the high school in PA Future Ready.
Are you talking about Central Mountain High School or Sugar Valley?
Sugar Valley.
But when you look, like they have third grade data in there, fourth grade data in there, like that, because they're considered one school. That's why you can look them
I
up. and be ready.
separated it out. The bottom line is we need to look at each school independently as a board, not bunch them all together so our scores look great. We need to look at, as we said earlier, we need to look at where we're having problems. And those are the areas we need to work at. If you look at that, what's on the screen, that looks like, wow, we're kicking butt and taking names, when in reality, we're not. And when you're comparing numbers, big school to little school, that's not a fair comparison.
President Roger, I'm sorry, you done?
I'm done with what I've got to say unless we need to go more, because the state assessment measures are way off also. But I have it here. If any board member here wants to look at it, I've got it all here in a stack.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate that this is third grade through 12th grade that you're seeing on the screen. So it is the average of all of the ELA and math and science test takers. It's not just from one building. So that's
right,
definitely.
but that is not a fair assessment. I'll give you another one. And I called the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Okay. And they said they don't do an overall school assessment. They only pick apart little things to look at here and there. They told me where to go, where to find a very good assessment. And I emailed it to all you board members. I put on here, here's the data, you can confirm it yourself. A national review of 17,656 USA high schools rankings, with number one being the best. We're looking at 17,656. Bucktail High School came in at 8,073 out of that 15-some thousand. The charter school came in at 8,813. This is just the high school. Central Mountain came in at 13,242. Okay. Now I kicked that down and went to just PA. The review of PA schools is 656 schools. Bucktail is number 320. Congrats to Bucktail. They are doing an excellent job. The charter school was at 341 and Central Mountain is at 499. Now, with all that said, we're not digging at different schools. We're just throwing some averages out. But there's 3,022 charter schools. And the Sugar Valley Rural Charter School came in at 890 out of that 3,022 with a 97% graduation rate. You guys can go on there and look yourself. I want to say Bucktail is kicking butt and taking names, and you should be proud of them. I am, and I'm sure everybody else here is. But if we're going to throw data out, and especially on social media and stuff, it should be correct data, not just all bunched together. That's an unfair evaluation. Where you got some schools doing great or bringing that average up, we're not looking at the ones that are going down. And a little bit ago, Roger, we were talking about looking at where they need help or who needs help and working on helping on that. This says we're all doing fine, just keep it up. We need to look at the individual areas where we're having problems, and that's where we need to concentrate curriculum and teaching.
And that's why we're going through the curriculum review process.
Right.
Okay, Elizabeth?
Thank you. Megan, I'm one of your hugest champions as far as curriculum and data goes, okay? And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed with this, so, but 99% of the time, I'm your champion on that curriculum. I don't understand, I'm not asking for an answer. I don't understand where this originated from. This is so unlike you. I'm I would love to see, like you always do for us, data broken down by school, by grade, and when you do your columns and we see trends over the year. But I'll be honest with you, this doesn't even show a grade or anything or what year it was taken from. I personally don't endorse this. I'm
So
sorry.
just as a reminder, at the end of the year, we go through the data in much more detail
Yes,
and
she
go by
does it great.
school.
Yes.
And so this was only intended as a district overview. We fully recognize that our schools are in different places and we are providing supports and changes as necessary to address those things.
It's embarrassing.
It is not
the intent
embarrassing.
of this wasn't to give a detailed report, it's to give an overview of the entire district. That's why it's presented in the way it is. Not meant to compare us with anybody else, just saying, here's where we are. This picture, overall, how we're doing as a district, looked very different a few years ago. We need to celebrate the progress we've made when 3 or 4 years ago, most of this was red.
Mhm.
Now most of it is a green. If we can't acknowledge the progress that we've made
There it
from a
goes.
few years ago to now, then we're missing the story.
I'm
here.
not taking that away. I'm
Then-
gonna say we're
That-
doing good.
That's what it sounds like though,
But
Chris.
when you put it out on
But
social media,
if you want to ask, for these things to be broken out, do it.
well, that's the way it needs to
This
be
here's a-
before it's given out to social
This is
media.
a district overview.
Mhm.
It's
And
not,
you
and
And it's
school
been compared to the
overview.
charter school also.
We're not making that.
In the
comparison.
same
we're not making a comparison.
Okay,
It seems like you are though,
no, I'm not. Don't even go there.
Jeff.
Megan, I want to apologize to you for the comments that were made here a couple of seconds ago. This, as Dr. Redmond has tried to point out, is an overview of the entire district in a thumbnail sketch that people can understand. This is not supposed to be, if we want to sit here and we want to say how rotten and terrible the scores are and read from New York, World and US News and World Report and everywhere else, and we want to run down Central Mountain High School, that's wrong. And if you want to send and sit here and read off data, this was not intended to do that. It was intended to give people a snapshot of the growth that we've had over at a district-wide level. It was not, that's Megan's job, to figure out where the weaknesses are and where the strengths are and address those weaknesses, in whether it's in the curriculum, or whether in the instruction part of it. That's her job, and that's what the team's job is. And I get tired of hearing people say that that the district is not doing their job.
I would actually like to say, Megan, thank you very much for what you're doing. I understand what this was meant to be. It was a district overview, not a school overview. So
Thank you. Megan.
thank you, and
Thank you.
I apologize for what was
I am
being
not
said
trying
earlier.
to cut Megan down. I'm
Okay.
just saying,
I did not call on you, Mr. Scat.
well,
Elizabeth?
Megan, you know me better. You know me, okay? And if any of them try to think or twist my words that I'm insulting
You
you,
said you were embarrassed.
that is not true. You know I'm one of your
Yes.
greatest champions. What I'm trying to say is maybe this wasn't a board agenda material. If you want to use it for marketing, that's your job. And that's what you're, you and Megan, but I'm just saying, we're here to evaluate information. So maybe that was the miscommunication.
We're,
Okay?
we're here to celebrate the fact that we're no longer in the red. That's kind of what this whole
Well,
thing
then
is
it was a
about.
presentation. Okay, I'm sorry.
All
I
right,
thought we
it
were
wasn't,
supposed to.
no, this is just a celebration of the fact that before, all these things used to be in a red.
I
You
was
remember
here.
that.
I
You
was here.
remember that.
Mhm.
Well, look where it's at now. And this is district-wide. It was district-wide back then. So this is like a comparison saying, hey, look, we're on our way. We're doing good. Now, do we have other places that we need to work on? Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. But you don't need to be running this down when the district as a whole is starting to come up.
Okay.
Mr.
It's-
Scaff.
I wasn't finished.
I am not running Megan down.
No.
I'm not running what she's doing at all.
No.
And I'm not saying this is a bad school. I wasn't here when it was all in the red. And I take the comments that are being said pretty harshly. I'm looking at, when you give me something, I dig into data.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's what we're-
When you're telling John Q. Public, throw this out on social media, my phone was ringing. You need to go look at this. You need to look at this. It's not true. I'm just saying.
Did you bring this up with Megan?
Hey, excuse me, I'm talking.
Okay, I'm the chair here.
Yeah, but
And I
you
tell
know
you
what?
what, if I want to end your time, I will.
Can we just
Just-
treat each other
You
hospitable?
know
Okay.
what?
Let's keep going.
We're not a
Go
team
on,
of 10.
Chris.
No, forget it. I'm not knocking you down, Megan. I'm just saying I'd like to see it put out there where people can see the real numbers.
We do that usually in May.
We do.
Yeah,
That's
we
it.
do.
We do it in the spring. That's not the intent of this presentation. The intent of this presentation was to show.
Whatever.
that as
I'm
a-
wrong no
as a-
matter what I do.
As a whole, we're in a different place than we were. I think we
Then
need to
that's
celebrate
good.
that. Rather than picking this apart, I think we need to celebrate the progress that we've made. That was the purpose of this presentation.
I'm not picking it
It's
apart.
not-
I'm just
All right.
looking for the truth.
That's exactly what you did, Chris. All right,
Whatever.
let's move on. Policies. Okay, for first read 005. Any questions? Comments?
I have one.
Butch?
On 005, I do not like the part that someone put in here, and I think it needs removed. It's down about,
What page you on?
heck,
Page
I'm
three.
trying to find it here. Hold on a second.
Page 3, Butch.
Page 3. Okay, we're gonna go.
Obviously, this has been discussed between you.
I asked about it. I
Okay.
don't like, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's ever in here before, and I see it now. It's in dark and black.
What are you talking about?
It says, members shall be appointed by the president for board committees. Who may serve as a non-voting ex officio member of all committees except for the committees of the whole. So it used to say who shall serve or who shall serve as. Now it's may serve as a non-voting member. Why has that been changed to a non-voting member?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Why has it been changed?
Because it's a committee and a committee of 3. And there's no need for a chair, a president to vote during a committee. And it could be abused if it got into the wrong hands, maybe. I don't know, but I'll just say it's just a committee. We just give recommendations. And the president can come to any committee that he wants or she wants to, and they can participate. But they don't vote for the recommendation. They don't, that's all.
We all discussed
why
it, and pretty much other school districts
Yeah.
are the same way.
Yeah, I don't, but no, seriously, what value do you see in it?
But how I see it, I can give you a prime example. If we have a committee that only 2 members shows up and the president is there, and you're trying to decide something, and one person's voting A, and one person's voting B, you get nothing accomplished.
Well, they do would just come on the agenda
Then
and
it
the whole
comes to the
board would
board.
discuss it. That's
But
all.
Isn't the idea of the committee to make recommendations to the board? How can you make a recommendation to the board if you can't make a consensus among yourself as a committee?
Yes, I know, but it's not earth shattering. The world won't stop if a committee can't decide if they want a blue book or a green book. You know, it's just cleaning it up.
We really didn't think it was that big a deal.
We didn't really know, because other school districts, so it's,
I personally, I don't agree with it.
okay, fair
I
enough.
intend to vote it, when we vote next week, I'll tend to vote against this item.
Because of that, okay, that's fair enough. That's your choice.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
yes, sir. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Then let's move on to where's
6:10.
6:10. Questions? 6:26, questions? 8:15, social media. 8:23, opioid antagonist. Questions? Okay, next up, meetings. Anybody have any questions on any of the meetings
Minutes.
or the minutes? Elizabeth?
Roger, thank you. I didn't ask this during the finance committee meeting. Is there the ERP software, the enterprise resource planning for $500,000? How is this, I should have asked this at the committee meeting, I apologize. How is this new software different from the software for the business office that we
Elizabeth,
bought?
we're talking about the minutes right now.
Right, but
Are the minutes wrong in some way, shape, or
okay,
form?
I see what you're saying. You're correct. I'm wrong. I will bring it up during the next K section.
Okay. All right. Business, bills for payment. Questions?
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Just the day before yesterday, and I haven't had time to email Joni. I received a check in the mail. And it's for $121.80. And it says mileage for a school safety summit. And I don't have a school safety summit till the end of March.
Did you go to one last year?
Yes.
Did you receive your payment for that? The
Yeah.
travel mileage for
Yeah.
that?
So I'm curious how I'm getting a check and it's even signed by Butch, not you.
Huh?
Yeah. And it's mileage for a safety summit.
That's gotta be something for last year.
Chris, what's the date on? There should be a date for the date on the mileage.
3/27 of 25.
The date for the
327
summit.
because it's not 327 yet. So that, right, so that's.
Conference reimbursement,
So that-
3/27/25.
Which is when you're gonna go to the safety conference.
Yeah.
coming up in March.
So how can we write a check ahead of time this far ahead? In our own policies, 621,
For him.
626(1), it says all travel costs must be presented with an itemized verified statement prior to a reimbursement. How are we writing a check and then the bills to payment? I looked and Randy and the one officer coming down, there's no payment in there for them. I'm just curious because I'm flabbergasted because I will not cash a check
What are we supposed to do?
until I've submitted an invoice and
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I can take it back from you and then we can take care of it and.
yeah,
destroy
because
it.
it's not even for the right amounts.
Yeah, so
How would you
we'll
know?
look
the
at,
amount you
let
get?
me look
Huh?
into that and find out, please, Chris.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up because
Why would my signature be on it for this year?
your signature's on it and not Rogers. There's problem in accounting if that's happening. How many other
Okay.
checks have been issued? And there's not even been a statement put or an invoice put in.
Is there a date on
That's when it was cut.
Check date,
That's when a reimbursement for something that's coming up ahead of time.
so it can't be reimbursement.
Correct.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay, Elizabeth.
So, and I'm sorry, Joni,
Oh,
I
hold
just
on.
got it. And I'm like, how can this be? So we gotta fix something if,
Do we,
Yeah, I'll look into it.
okay.
Yeah, Elizabeth?
Dr. Redmond, would you be so kind, and after you do your investigation, find out who initiated this, why they broke a policy, And I prefer names
That
and
we're not-
times and accounts.
We're not gonna name names.
That's my job to take care of. it.
That's his
I'll take care of it.
responsibility.
Well, now, should we be doing an audit for the last year for mileage reimbursement? I mean, how do we know this didn't happen?
This part of me looking into it, when I find out, is this a common practice? Is this a one-off? That's my job to figure out
Exactly.
what the problem is.
Would you please just update us with your
Sure,
findings?
I will.
Thank you.
And Joni, I wasn't able to email Joni one thing, so I'm gonna email it to you tomorrow and you can just get it for me for next week. Cause I had a question and she may even be able to answer it now. I noticed in the bills for payment, there's a lot of people that are submitting travel, even from clear back in September. Shouldn't that have been paid before the end of the year to work in the audit and everything?
Well, that's something that she
No,
can,
That's-
she can look into.
September is
Yeah,
this
I'm gonna
budget.
send-
September is this budget year.
Till June.
Yeah, cause there was some September, October, November, December for one person.
Yeah, that's all in this budget year. So it
Okay,
wouldn't be- Because the audit is for last budget year.
okay.
All
I
right.
just think that it may be easier on her if they did it, send it in.
30 days.
Don't just save it, make a policy that says 30 days. If you don't have it turned in, too bad.
Let's talk about it.
That's all I had.
Okay,
I
thank you.
can send it to Joni.
Appreciate it. Okay, those for payment. Next up, resolution 154, transfer funds.
I have a couple. Where's Marge?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I didn't bring this up at the facilities committee meeting because I wanted to bring it up in front of the whole board. I first appreciate everything the facility committee the facilities group does for us. But one thing I did not ask, now, if you look at where this company is located for the tennis courts.
Okay, so resolution 154, the capital reserve, that is for tennis courts at Central Mountain High School.
Are you talking about so further on, the number 12, we
the
talk about the
contract.
tennis court project where where
Right,
the
that's-
contractors are brought up.
Right,
Do
but
you want to wait
that's,
until then to talk about? the
okay, well,
contractor?
okay, all right, we'll make the connection at that point, yes, okay.
Okay,
This is just.
The resolution, but
resolution
it-
to
Yeah.
transfer the fund.
But it attaches to that comment, okay.
okay. Next is what is it? Resolution 155 for committing funds.
Yep, for technology.
Yes,
I'll talk about it.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, next is settlement stipulations. We've already discussed that
Mhm.
in exec.
Next one.
Okay, same as the next one. The charter school settlement. Okay, internet service provider bids.
Mhm.
Any questions? Wide area network, the WAN, the bids for that, any questions?
I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Is this all Wi-Fi or is this, are we at fiber optics yet? I don't remember.
I don't, both. We-
Okay,
We have a fiber optic connection that brings data in, and we have a Wi-Fi system throughout all of our schools.
so this is fiber. Oh, that's great. Okay, because I don't remember. Thank you. That's exciting. It's good
Okay.
stuff.
Next up, Central Mountain High School and Middle School cafeteria furniture.
President Ross.
Questions on that? Elizabeth?
Thank you. Yes, we were very fortunate. The kids, Ms. Berger, they just did a beautiful job at the finance committee meeting. And one thing that was not also put in the minutes, and I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it, was we did discuss Wildcats Recycle. And I noticed, and I'm not, this is the exact same thing we looked at, and there's no notes or anything even remotely even saying that they discussed it or a motion, if they're gonna do it. So they would be having recycle section in the cafeteria to help with education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being a responsible citizen. So maybe when Sharon Berger, maybe not tonight, but maybe at the vote session can give us an update on the recycling initiative. And the other one was, I didn't want to upset the kids, but when they purchased the chandelier, it says that it's going to come out of a different fund, and that's not the issue, what fund it comes out of, but I didn't want to, why are we buying a chandelier for the cafeteria? They have a chandelier, so if maybe Dr. Redmond, you want to talk to your team and see about the recycling, Wildcats Recycle, and also what about this chandelier thing?
Okay, thank you. Butch?
If I recall, during the facility committee meeting, when you brought up about the Wildcat recycling, the engineer that was here said he's gonna come up with a design to incorporate it, and Herman Curran talked about putting it in the back corner or someplace. Remember them talked about coming up a way of doing it, so it was brought up that I would assume, like most engineers, it takes them a little bit of time to do something, and that was only a week ago, maybe 10 days.
Right, there was no
Yeah.
notation, that's all.
Yeah.
So I just didn't, well, you know how these things happen, if you don't see it in writing, it sometimes gets forgotten. Nothing, it's not on purpose, but sometimes it does happen. We still haven't seen a price breakdown yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
Can I speak to that?
Oh,
It's
hi, Sharon.
it's Sharon. Hi. After Facilities Committee, John Worthington and I, and he's on the call tonight, we did incorporate the recycling bins into the design books that you have access to tonight. So you'll see those in the Central Mountain Middle School drawing. And the second question that you had regarding those, the lighting, the chandelier, that particular lighting, that one piece is to take the place of an old antiquated ceiling fan that's in the tray ceiling, in the middle of Central Mountain Middle School's cafeteria. It's an old white, ceiling fan. And that particular lighting fixture is meant to go on the inside of the sound absorbing drum. So the existing ceiling fan is not the right configuration, and they're so old. We felt that we wanted to just simply change that out and make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So when you look up at the drum, you see a little bit more of a modern lighting fixture. That's why that's in there.
I mean, I'm not gonna, thank you very much, Sharon. Okay, I didn't realize the Wildcats Recycle. I still don't see it, but don't worry about it. If you see it's in there, it's in there, okay?
Yep, sure.
All right. Sam, did you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I was just gonna fill in for Sharon.
Okay, yeah, no, all right, sounds good.
Beautiful job.
All right. So. All right, next up is the Renova Elementary and Bucktail Junior School, Junior Senior High alignment.
So I've talked to the board about this previously, that we are looking at realigning the PDE's understanding of how schools are configured at Bucktail. Right now, the way that Bucktail operates is it has a Renova Elementary, which is K6, and it has Bucktail Junior Senior High, which is 712. And PDE and our policy 815 says that elementaries are K4, middle schools are 5-8, and high schools are 9-12. So we want to adjust both our policy and PDE's records so that PDE sees we only have 2 schools at Bucktail, Bucktail Elementary and Bucktail Junior Senior High School, to align with how things are operating. This is only a background paperwork thing. It'll have absolutely no effect on the experience for students. It doesn't change any staff around. It doesn't move students from one place to another. It is only something that's happening in the background. It helps out with a couple of things that we deal with here in the central office about how PDE sees our schools, everything from how test scores are reported to where tests are delivered and everything in between. So we just want to do that cleanup. There's a process that we have to go through in order to make those changes.
Mhm.
This is the first official step in that process. I'm asking for you to vote to approve to make this change, and that's the first step. If you approve that next week, then in the Saturday papers, you'll see an advertisement that says that we're going to make this change. And then we'll have to do a couple of other meetings coming up. We'll have to do an official staff meeting. And then in June, there will be an official hearing that the board will have to conduct where you make the decision, the final decision. Because in PDE's eyes, by removing the middle school number, they consider that a school closure. So the board has to vote to close down that school number. And again, we're not closing down any schools. We're just removing that school number from the record.
But we have to play the game.
We have to go through the process.
Yes.
Fair enough. Good.
So, all right. Central Mountain High School auditorium equipment, questions?
I'm just curious, did we put this out to bid locally also?
Yes,
Okay, so no buyers locally.
not competitive.
Okay, but you know, I appreciate you doing that and your team doing that, but somehow if you would just let us all know that, because it always looks like we're not trying. And I know if you're trying and you're putting in the effort, please let us all know, okay? That'll really stop a lot of noise out there.
Okay, thank you. Sam?
So if you look on the facilities committee, all of the bids are entered on the facilities committee so that we can answer all those questions. And then here, I only transferred the winning bid to vote on.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Okay. Moving on, Mill Hall Elementary Building Automation. Questions? Okay, Central Mountain High School and Bucktail High School tennis court project. Questions? Elizabeth?
Yeah, this one again, there was no local takers that, I mean, this is company so far away.
So I solicited from two separate companies that have done business here at Keystone Central School District before for sports facilities. We do not have anyone local that provides tennis court service.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is, did we put something out to the public so they could see it?
No, as per CoStars and the Pennsylvania bidding process, I used two CoStar companies and that's what I went with.
Okay, and I trust your judgment. I just will say, when the pickleball people came here, you weren't here. I'm not gonna go into the story, but make a long story short, they got a company. Don't ask me, but they got the tennis courts rebuilt in Lock Haven 2 years ago. And their price seemed very reasonable. But again, it was probably they were helping the local community, so the price was probably down. I don't know, but I'm just saying, this is another instance where if we could at least show the effort for the locals, and if no one takes it, nobody takes it.
Sam, if I'm not mistaken, don't we have to follow certain procedures whenever we're bidding something out like this?
That is correct. And what CoStars does though, is they are approved by the state of Pennsylvania
Mhm.
as providers of these services. So they've already been vetted by the state so that
Right.
we don't have to do that locally.
Okay, thank you.
But you do
All right.
understand what I'm.
Roger.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, in our policies in 610, it says when seeking competitive bids, the board shall advertise once a week for 3 weeks and not less than 2 newspapers in general circulation. Now, I understand CoStars, but I think we should throw it out to some local people too.
If you look at all the projects that we have listed on here,
Mhm.
every single one of them have been, I brought in local companies to do the work and bid on it. This was the only one that was different because of the scope of the work with the tennis courts.
Okay. I want to make sure that we're spending taxpayer money local if we can.
always my first choice.
Well, thank you for everything you do,
Okay.
Sam, but you, yeah. Mhm.
Next, Central Mountain High School gym roof, top HVAC units. Questions?
How many more do we have left, Sam? At the high school? Roughly, I forgot. You did mention it. It wasn't in the,
HVAC units.
yeah,
So at the high school, we did 3 last summer. And this proposal was to do 3 additional.
right.
And I'm not certain of the total count, but we'll say there's only, that would be 6 that
Okay,
were new ones compared to the entire school. So
right.
we have a lot more to go.
Yep, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bucktail Baseball Field backstop fence. Any questions on this? Elizabeth?
Yeah, well, the athletics director said that the numbers aren't up. Is this the same field? Or is this a different
That
field?
was not the Bucktail Athletic Director, that was the Central Mountain Athletic Director. And as he told me later,
Oh, okay, good.
he was
Update, please.
incorrect. He was talking about junior high
Oh,
baseball.
good.
The varsity baseball numbers are up. That's why, if you remember, I had the discussion with him that day about, couldn't believe the varsity numbers are down, the junior high numbers, because they just got a new coach. I think their numbers will be fine, but the coach they had retired,
Okay,
so.
good, because their teams up there for softball, baseball, softball, excellent. All right, good. So we got teams that's gonna play there. Great. That's what I want to hear.
Okay, next up,
Thank you.
Bucktail High School zero-turn mower. Anybody have any questions on that? Wow. Okay, next up, personnel. Questions?
I have a question on the very, very bottom. On the hiring of the 2 temporary secretaries,
Bottom of what?
oh, I gotta get back to that sheet. Now I lost it.
It's the MOU.
Yes, it's the MOU. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
not what we're talking
okay,
about. so.
Yeah. No,
All
I'm
right.
on the wrong page.
Okay, next up, athletic personnel. Any questions on this? Okay, curriculum guide updates. Anybody have any questions on this? Elizabeth?
Thank you. I think she's talking about PDF page 20, PDF page 28 or manual page 27. My only question is, did the curriculum committee, are they gonna get a different school to take up these classes? Are they trying, because these are, or maybe they don't want to offer these classes at all anymore? It's page 28 of the PDF. Page 27 of the manual. I mean, I'm assuming that's the only one there.
It's the PCN class, Elizabeth. Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, hi, Megan.
Yeah. Penn College doesn't offer the course anymore, so that's why we have to remove it from our course guide.
Do you think, is the committee gonna look at other schools to get this class up and running somewhere else? Or is this just something you just want, is not a good fit for what you're trying to do?
We're always looking at different dual enrollment opportunities for students. So that's always a part of our work. So we'll continue to look, but Penn College offers other math courses that our students can still take. So instead of having several, there's just one less option. I don't think it'll negatively impact our students at all. They still have a good amount of options. But as always, we're always looking for more.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Megan.
Roger.
Go ahead, Chris.
On page 3, Megan, under work experience opportunities, there's 3 of them: Homeland Security, General Education, and Entrepreneurship. All are showing pending approval. Can you help us understand what that is? Do we have to approve it or somebody else, or?
Sorry, I didn't have it pulled up. I actually think those are Actually, it looks like, Christine and Frank, it looks like this is the wrong, this, if you look at the course guides that's attached here, this is a 24-25 course guide. That's linked in board docs. And it should be the 25-26 one that we're looking to remove the PCN course from.
That's okay. We can just look at it for next.
So Chris, those were new programs last year that were pending PDE approval.
Okay,
We are running those now because they were PDE approved. So
okay,
this is last year's course guide. But in terms of
Okay.
the PCN course that we are looking to remove from the 25-26 course guide, it would be the same exact description and everything that's in the one that's attached.
Okay.
But
We
we'll
just
definitely
have the
update we'll definitely update that attachment for next week so you can see 25-26. But the 25-26 was already board approved back in December.
all right, thanks.
And in
Yep.
addition, just so the board has it to look at before next meeting, we'll send it out as via email.
Right, I just saw that and I'm like, well, I thought we were already doing, it. I didn't know if
No,
something
I don't- yeah.
happened and we had to get another approval or what.
Okay. All right. Next up, Mill Hall Borough.
It's the annual agreement that we do with the field, baseball fields.
Mhm. Yeah, where's the other schools? I mean, maybe next month they'll show up.
Yep, we haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, they're coming. It's almost the season.
Yep.
Good,
Tis the season.
good.
Okay, next up, Student Activities Quarterly Report. It's for Q2. Questions?
Yes, President Roger.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, please consider this. I'm gonna put it out to the board again. To have the total number of students that are participating in each of the clubs. And also, there's a couple of clubs here that appear year after year that haven't been active. They've been inactive. So maybe Dr. Redmond, you and your team can decide if they're still gonna be on that inactive. If you have a AR or something where maybe disperse the money to the other clubs that are doing really well, you know. But again, every year I ask if the board would like to see an extra column just showing how many of our students are in that particular club, that particular quarter. Is there anyone that would like to see that?
Go ahead, Butch.
I think the numbers you're asking for is something we need to see, but I don't think this is the appropriate place. I think this is basically showing what the club is and the money that club raises throughout the year. They have to report the money they bring in, the money they spend. I think the numbers you're looking for is when we do the annual approval of all the club, I guess, coaches or whatever you want to call them, the instructor that helped to that club, the proctor or whatever you want to call them. When they have that, you list the club. If it's an art club, list who the person is that's running that club and how many members on it. I think that would be the place,
Sure.
better place to show it.
It's a good compromise. I appreciate that. Yeah, but Dr. Owen, please consider if you want any of these things that have been vacant for a while. I would support if anything, you need to dissolve whatever, if you need us. Whenever you see no
Okay.
activity, there's a couple of them that they're not active anymore, but they're still there. I don't know exactly which ones.
Okay, not sure what harm it does to leave them on. It's
I
not
just-
costing any money or.
I'm just confused. I'm looking like the one of the choir course. They had $895.58 beginning balance. They didn't raise any money. They didn't spend any money. They still have the same balance. They still have that club. They just didn't do anything to raise
I
money.
mean, sometimes they're not active. Don't worry about it. We're done. I'm done. Some of them are active and some aren't, and maybe it's changed.
Okay, next up. CCE or CCSEC MOU as far as the seniority and transfers. Does anybody have a question on that?
This is the one I was questioning.
Okay,
Down towards the bottom, it says the parties further agree if employment continues effective 1/1/26, the fiscal tax office secretaries will be considered a permanent employee while both bumping and seniority rights is outlined in the CBA, with seniority being retroactive to the date of hire. If we're gonna put two more secretaries in the tax office, but we already got rid of the EIT, do we need two more? Because we had four.
For the time being, yes. Until,
Okay.
because until we work through the process with the TCC. And we're still doing the tax work.
Right.
And we will be at least through October, but until the TCC chooses another tax collector and we finish collecting all the taxes and working through all that for this year, we need that support in the tax office. That's why we made them temporary employees, because we knew at some point in this fiscal year, or sorry, in this calendar year, we won't need them anymore.
Well,
Okay, but that was my question. Do you anticipate it going further?
No.
Okay,
who knows what the.
because when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, we're putting more employees in there for,
No, we don't anticipate it going past this calendar year.
okay.
Okay.
And I got one question before I scream adjournment.
No, I have something to bring up before.
Okay, go ahead, Butch.
Well, I'd like to, since the Bucktail representative wasn't here to talk earlier.
She wants to come next week.
Well, I know that, but I'm still gonna tell them I think they did good. I think the music instructor up there, Mr. Cahaley's been here probably his third year, I think. And when he started up there, the music, there wasn't much of a band. He's really promoted the band, gotten the band moving along, got a lot of students involved, to the point that they went to the PMEA district band, and two members, McKenna Bisman on percussion and Michael Goss on trumpet, actually was selected to move forward to the PMEA region.
That's awesome.
So
It's in the record today.
yes.
That's good.
Just want to make sure we have to recognize these fine students also are doing great things besides athletics. So they're doing a music part, and I know Mr. Cayley's proud of them. He's done a great job, and I think we should be proud and commend him. And I think next week when Ketta's here, we should say something to her, and instead of her telling us all the stuff, we can tell her next week.
That's great.
Cool.
Thanks for
Okay,
sharing,
that's what I'm
Butch.
done.
Chris?
Elizabeth sent us all an email that kind of concerned me a little bit about all the buses over at the middle
Oh,
school.
Jesus.
And I know from hearing from people that are in Mill Hall, friends, they say that the traffic is such a problem. I don't understand, and I'm hoping that you can figure out, we can get staff out there and get she said the buses are sitting there averaging 15 to 20 minutes full of kids waiting on staff to come get them. So you have bus after bus after bus backed up.
It's crazy.
We need to get some people out there as soon as that bus is there, get them off the bus, get them out of there, and that's going to alleviate a lot of the traffic problem. And she brought that up and sent them pictures to us, and I'm just curious if you can do something and get staff out there and get them unloaded as soon as they get there, because sitting on the bus that long can promote problems.
So it's something that I have charged my team with, is making sure that we're not having kids just sit on buses and wait. I'm not okay with this for a couple of reasons, right? I don't think it's good for the students. I don't think it's good for our environment. I don't think it's good for the traffic, right? All those things. I'm fully aware that it's a problem, and I know we're working on it. It's complicated. It will incur extra cost, and so we're trying to figure out if there's any way that we can do this, given the staffing that we have right now.
We don't have staff there for them, or?
That's the problem, because our staff is only there for a certain number of hours per day. And if we
Okay.
exceed that certain number of hours, we have to pay them for it. And I don't mind paying them for it, but I want to exhaust all the options before I come to the board and ask for more funding to pay the staff to be here longer in the day. I'm still working through that process. I don't know if that's where we will end up, but it's very much on my radar.
Okay.
Butch?
Don't we have bus monitors that or paid extra to come in to?
Not that many.
So we need more of it. Okay.
Elizabeth?
I honestly didn't know this was, I wasn't prepared to talk about this. I won't go into grave detail. But I'm not sure why the schedule changed. That's not my issue. The only thing I know is I've been living in the same house for 10 years. And I've never seen this until my schedule changed. And I happened to be home when the buses actually go by my house more often. And they literally pull into the circle and they sit there and idle and park for almost 20 minutes every day. I'm like, why? I've been there 10 years. Why is it this year that it's happening? Something drastic changed. I'm not asking. It's not on the agenda, but I'm just saying in 10 years, something changed and those kids are trapped in those buses with the bus driver blocking traffic for 20 minutes. And I know your team will fix it in a short order, but the teachers are in the building. So you folks figure it out, okay? But this is a self-made problem and you guys are gonna fix it. I know you will.
With that,
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Thank you.
adjourn.